the plantation of Ulster.
The plantation in the 17th century brought the Ulster Scots and Presbyterians to Castlederg, and today the town is still 40% Protestant. During the dark days of the recent Troubles, that section of the town's population bore the brunt of the IRA's violent campaign. To find out more, I met with Canon Harry Trimble, who was a local businessman. You were telling me earlier, Canon, that in 1972, your business, which was located right here, was bombed for the first time. What was that experience like?
It was dreadful. All the shops had been closed the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning the town was just coming back to life again. And in fact, I and my 10-year-old son were up at a small farm that we owned, and the lady who lived very convenient shouted across to me, "Harry, there's a bomb at the shop." So I came on down here and came into the shop, up 2 flights of stairs, and I looked down on top of a white Mini. It was sitting there at that where the Chinese restaurant is now, and I thought, a Mini and a bomb. It couldn't be a big bomb because it wasn't sitting low to the ground, you know. And I was just going out through the back door of the house when bang, and it blew me off my feet. As I say, the place was just, well, devastated. Every building that you can see around this whole place, roofs gone, windows gone. 8 times subsequently, between 1972 and 1979, the bombers returned in varying degrees. We had the shop re-roofed 4 times during that time of the 8 bombs. Serious bombing on 8 occasions. All this area here behind, all this street was almost demolished, as well as the centre of the town.
If the bombers destroyed your properties, did they destroy the morale of the community?
Well, not to any great extent. The community spirit was never better, I would say, than it was after those bombs went off, because everyone came to help one another. Didn't matter who you were or what you were. Your neighbours came and helped to get things back into perspective and into working order. And our great glory was always to have a sign in the shop window which said business as usual.
But how suspicious did people become of each other? Were people beginning to look at people differently during that era?
Well, it's only natural that you would. You know, you always had suspicions and you were always on the lookout for something that was suspicious. At that time there weren't as many incendiaries in those early days. It was all mostly car bombs. But as I say, it came to the fact that we had to search our premises, the staff, and we had up to 9 people working in the shop at times. And the staff would have searched every pocket of every jacket every night before they left the shop, and that was very time consuming. But at least you felt you were doing something to try and protect yourself.
Do you feel, Canon, that the people of Castlederg have learned to forgive the bombers and those who shot police officers and members of the UDR, the Ulster Defence Regiment in the area? Has that forgiveness been born, do you think?
Not 100%. There's still doubts in people's mind and still suspicions in people's mind. People are trying to forget, but forgiveness is a big word. I know the Lord tells us the importance of forgiveness, but when it comes to human beings being blown apart, if you like, it's very, very difficult to forgive. I started reporting in Northern Ireland in 1975. I covered troubles in every part of Northern Ireland and in County Tyrone. There was one story, however, which stands out in my memory over and above the rest in Tyrone. A local representative told me a story one night about 16 members of the police and the Ulster Defence Regiment who were buried in this cemetery outside Castlederg. I often thought about those young men and women who had been killed in their prime. I often wondered what the impact had been on the local community. And it was that particular fact which, more than anything else, drove me back
to Castlederg to try and establish how people think today against the backdrop of the IRA's ceasefire, the peace process, and where we are today. One of the people who really suffered during those days at the hands of the IRA was David Kerrigan, and some of his loved ones are buried in this cemetery. What age were you when you joined the UDR, the Ulster Defence Regiment?
I was 18 when I joined the Ulster Defence Regiment.
Could you paint a picture of what life was like as a serving soldier in the Castlederg area?
The Castlederg area was on the border, so you had to be on alert all the time. And if one slip up at all, you're always on alert. You couldn't get out of your car and leave it without checking it before you get into it again. And even at your own home, you had to have the garage locked, your doors locked. At night, it was just, the threat was so high in the Castlederg area.
Were you permanently armed?
Yes, we all had our own personal protection weapons, yes. Whether you carried them or not, it's up to yourself.
And from a family point of view, how did the family adjust to your way of life?
The family had to adjust because they weren't allowed to get into the car. They were told not to go near the car until you checked the car. And the doors had to be locked, so the family just knew. And they didn't tell strangers what their father or mother worked at. If somebody says, "What does your father work at?" they would have said, "I don't know," or they wouldn't have told just.
Could you just take me through that day when you were caught in the ambush and when your sister Heather was killed?
It was the 14th of July 1984. We left Rockwood about 10 o'clock in the morning by helicopter, and we were flown out to the border, the Donegal border, just about 10 miles from Castlederg. There was another brother of mine with us too. There were three of us in the one family in the same patrol. We were doing a foot patrol along the road just, and we had stopped the car. Heather was directly behind me, and when we had stopped the car, I went back to speak to Heather. And when I got up to walk away, the explosion went off. There was a bomb set off just the side of the road, and Heather was still alive at that time. I was blown to the ground and I had a collapsed lung and back injuries. We returned fire into a small forestry, which we thought the terrorists were, and then the helicopter landed on the field beside us. Heather was put into the helicopter along beside me. I was lying on the floor of the helicopter, and the loadmaster was cradling Heather. I could see her clothes was blown off and her foot was hanging off. I was lying on the floor of the helicopter and Heather's blood was running under my body. I just kept looking at her. I could see her lips moving, nothing more.
Now, not alone did you lose your sister Heather on that said day, but you also lost another colleague, Norman McKinley. Can you just bring me through the circumstances of his killing?
Norman was on the opposite side of Heather, and he would have been sitting directly on the bomb when it was detonated. So Norman took the full blast. Norman was blown into the field, maybe 200 yards, and he would have been killed instantly. And then we arrived at Omagh Hospital, where I was taken into intensive care, and I was told then, an hour or two after, that Heather had died. I was kept in the hospital overnight, and then I was moved to Musgrave Park Hospital for a week. So when I got out of hospital, the funeral was over, and I didn't get time to grieve. I didn't get time to say goodbye to Heather. So that still affects me today.
Do you remember your last words to your sister Heather that day?
Yes, I went back to speak to Heather, and we were looking at a map, and I said to Heather, "That's where we are there." And Heather said, "It is," and she was sitting down on her knees. And I just got up and walked away. I don't know how I escaped. It was only a matter of yards when the explosion went off. I was blew into the crater, and a few seconds after that, I heard my brother shouting from the back, "She's still alive." So he obviously seen her lying there but she wasn't speaking.
How close to death were you?
I would say yards. For I was sitting beside Heather, and the bomb would have probably been detonated only for the car that we had stopped. So I was sitting on it and then just had walked away, and the car had moved off. As the car moved off, just detonated the bomb.
What does this graveyard actually mean to you when you walk through that gate down there?
It means a lot to me. For when I come up here and see Heller's grave, my brother-in-law, Thomas Laughlin, and all my other young colleagues that were murdered, it makes me very, very vexed right enough when I walk around and see their headstones and the age of them. You know, they're all in their 20s and 30s. Young men and women lost their lives for really nothing. But I get some comfort here when I come, you know, I have a wee chat with Heller and Thomas, and I go around and see my other comrades, you know. I hope Heller and my other comrades is maybe happier than I am, for I'm not happy at all. Like, I've post-traumatic stress, and I've bothered sleeping at night, you know, and everybody says Heller and them's in heaven, but I'm not well at all.
Do you want to lead a happier, healthier and wealthier life while escaping the 9-to-5? Run your own business with Beckett Hanlon. Take the opportunity to receive world-class training, mentoring and support in order to achieve everything you want in life for you and your family. Contact Beckett Hanlon today on 028 9002 0700 and let us open the door to a world of opportunity. Beckett Hanlon, always the right decision. Set in the heart of Magherafelt, Bryson's Bar and Restaurant is the town's #1 complex, serving the best home-cooked food, premium drinks and the best entertainment on offer. We are also #1 in Mid-Ulster for all your live sporting events. Call in and sample our new restaurant menu. All the old favourites and some new dishes have been added. Follow us on Facebook to keep up to date on our latest deals and events.
Fáilte ag Common Golf Ullin na Cruiche, a hidden gem of world golf right on the wild Atlantic Way. As TripAdvisor says, there's enough brilliance here for about 3 golf courses, and the beauty of this course is that it is so natural, so unexpected and so exciting. And that's before you mention the location, tucked away on Donegal's rugged coastline. Visit us today or become part of something really special with an Overseas Life membership. CritchIslandGolfClub.com. Uniquely special.
Looking for an exhilarating cliff path walk? Do you want to witness a diverse range of wildlife and bask in stunning unrivaled views of the rugged Irish Sea? Northern Ireland's newly restored attraction, the Gobbins, is set to thrill those who want to uncover the once hidden wonder of the Antrim coast. For more information, visit the website www.thegobbinscliffpath.com. Pre-booking is essential and health and safety restrictions apply. Come join us at the Ulster Fleadh in Bangor, County Down, sponsored this year by Ards and North Down Borough Council, Arts Council NI and Tourism NI. From the 16th to 24th July, there'll be a series of events for you and all the family to enjoy. Irish traditional music, song and dance from artists such as Bioga and Sands Family. A special guest appearance also from Irish dance legend Lauren Smith from Riverdance. To purchase tickets and the full list of events, please visit the website www.ulsterfleadh.com.
With over 37 years of experience, Mountfield Kitchens will provide you with an award-winning design concept for your home or business, specialising in transforming any residence with an extensive range from bespoke kitchens and bathroom furniture to walk-in dressing room wardrobe fittings and solid hardwood conservatories. Business owners can also avail of shop, restaurant, bar or salon fit-outs. Call today on 028 807 71226. Visit our website or follow us on Facebook.
This is the grave of another soldier, Michael Darcy, shot dead outside his home here in Castlederg in 1988. His death would have a profound impact on his friend and local schoolteacher, Derek Hussey.
Michael and I played together in local foot band. We'd been at a parade in Beira on the other side of Omagh. Michael returned, drove into the back of his mother's house because he lived with his mother, his widowed mother. He was an only child. And a gunman stepped out behind the vehicle before the engine was even switched off, the radio was blaring and just riddled Michael in the back.
Why did the killing of Michael Darcy have such an impact on you?
When Michael was killed, that was the culmination of a lot of other things. And perhaps the straw that broke the camel's back led me to consider, what can I do? How do I react to this? I could have reacted the way people have done in other parts of Northern Ireland. I could have found myself into various organisations. I didn't, because Michael died in June. A couple of months later, people were coming to me and asking me would I consider standing for council. I didn't give them an immediate answer, but I felt that perhaps there was something that was saying, this is what you can do, Derek. This is how you respect Michael's memory. You now represent the people who have come to you, the people who have concerns about what's going on in this community.
You said that you went into, you chose to go into politics in response to the death of Michael Darcy to do something. Could I ask you, do you feel you did the right thing? You lose your private life. But I have no regrets in doing my damnedest to represent the people who have given me the privilege of firstly being a councillor, then finding myself for 9 years as a member of the Northern Ireland Assembly. Do you feel, though, that you changed anything becoming a public representative, an elected member?
Yes. I think the real change that I was part of was in 1998. We then headed towards the Belfast Agreement. I was placed in a quandary because it wasn't 100% right, but it presented an opportunity for our people and for me as a public representative not to have to take Michael's body to that church and other people's bodies to that church, take them from that church over that bridge and out to our local cemetery. I didn't want any more of that. The Belfast Agreement was a good fist at trying to seek a way forward for all of our community whereby we could accept each other's differences and get on with life.
Have you found the capacity in your heart to forgive the killers of those people?
No.
Will you ever?
I can't answer that. No, and, I can't predict what will come in the future. I can't see me forgiving them.
What has been the legacy, do you think, right along the border of that IRA campaign?
My children, my younger children, I should say, and indeed my older son, they have grown up in an era of not having murder, mayhem, bombs, etc. And perhaps their conception is different than the older generation. I find among my own generation, and indeed those maybe 10, 20, 30 years below myself, who do remember a different attitude than I do in younger people.
Are you bitter?
I wouldn't describe myself as being bitter, but I'm concerned that there are so many people in this Castlederg area who don't have answers as to why their loved ones were killed.
The emotional and physical scars of the Troubles will certainly take time to heal. However, the physical destruction of Castlederg has perhaps been repaired more easily. One man central to the town's redevelopment in recent years is Tyrone Forsyth.
I'm a person who was reared here in Castlederg and worked here most of my life. I would say it was terrible to see, and I thought it never would have come out of it again. But yes, it has. Good for the peace process, it's helped a lot as well. But to see old property, the the way it went, you know, in a way, and how it was devastated. We tried to repair it back, you know, for plan purposes, to make sure we didn't overdevelop too much or over-modernise too much. We still wanted to keep a bit of character in the town, which I think we have.
As a designer of properties, buildings, how challenging was it to put this place back together again, piece by piece?
Fairly challenging in a way, but I have a history. When I started work, that was my main job, was restoring and rebuilding hotels that were bombed. Gave me great experience then when I come for Castlederg then to be able to regenerate or remodernise the town.
If there's one building in this town, what building gives you most pleasure in terms of your contribution to bringing it back to its former state of being?
Well, I think the one would be at the bottom of the town here with Coulter's shop, you know, the furniture shop, which was rebuilt in brick. It looks well as you approach the town, you know, and gives a wee bit of sense of modernism maybe to the town. We still kept a bit of character with it. But up around here, I would say the one I'd be proud of maybe it would be Kyle's here, which it has never been touched, and it's an original. People actually come to visit to see the old shop, but it's still there and it's tacked.
How proud were you of what you did to bring this town back into itself in terms of your contribution to architecture and design?
Yes, of course, I'm very proud. You know, I'm proud of the people at Castlederg, which I think have come on very well. And you know, as I said before, they won't give up. You know, and it's nice to see all the shops now being used, people on and about. There is a buzz about the town. The churches are all being modernised as well, and done up and repaired, and new halls. And I think it has helped with taking the old buildings down. They were tired of posing damage that much that, you know, it was better to have them removed, and it's given openness now and a bit of airiness to the town.
Olga Walls runs the family business, the Derg Arms and Guest House here in Castlederg. She's a new generation of business people. What is she and others doing to bring new life into Castlederg?
I'm very lucky. I have got a great working relationship with a lot of the bar owners within Castlederg. There's 4 of us in particular that have came together over the last few years. Our main aim was to drive a positive image of Castlederg, to get our nighttime economy to stay in Castlederg, and for other towns to actually come back to Castlederg.
And is this cross-community?
It is indeed. As I say, David Doherty from the Townhouse Bar, Michael Collins from Mickey Joe's, and Seamus Logue from Logue's Bar. We work together very closely to try and bring things to Castlederg.
What role does a FLA play in a town like this here, for example?
We've had the FLA now for 2 years. I have to say the organisers did a fantastic job. The first year, granted that a lot of maybe the Protestant side of the community just didn't know what to expect, but I have to say we embraced it. It was fantastic to see so many people coming in from all over.
Just how cross-community is this town socially, politically and economically today?
Well, community, I think altogether is positive. The community groups here work well together, the bands, the football clubs work well together, the businesses have come together and helped provide us with a lot of cross-community events, and I believe that it is altogether a positive thing. It can't be not, you know, it has to be positive for not only my generation, but for the younger generation that's coming up.
As I leave Castlederg, having spent some time here and in the surroundings of the town, I leave with 2 thoughts. Firstly, there's an older generation, having suffered at the hands of the IRA and the violence, who are finding it hard enough to forgive. But there's a younger generation, breaking down the barriers, crossing the divides, looking to the future, not preoccupying themselves with the past. Perhaps, though, the new thinking in Castlederg and this border area was summed up best by an older man who said to me, "God give me 2 eyes, not one in the back of my head, not one in the front of my head, but 2 in the front of my head for one reason, to look forward." That's the message with which I leave Castlederg and this border area.